Drink this wine. He tried to give her the glass, but she refused to hold it. First, answer my questions, all of them. What love are you talking about, Taehyung? I went to abroad the same night I gave birth. It's true, but the reason you are portraying is straight out absurd. Because after knowing I gave birth to stillborn, I went into complete depression and became numb. I became like those patients in coma, but instead of laying on the bed while closing my eyes, I was just looking in front of me, clueless. Well, a whisper of disbelief left his mouth while he looked at his ex-wife, whose breathing was faster than usual. My condition was severe, very severe. That's why doctors advised me to shift overseas for my recovery. Plus, why do you think our company suddenly started to face loss to the point where we needed to sell our shares? Because you were not here, he stated, more light to himself than hers. Nodding her head, she stated, for more than 3 years, I wasn't here. Mom and Dad was busy with me. The company was unsupervised. For 3 years. After you had sent the divorce papers stating you don't want to have anything to do with me or my baby, my mental health wasn't that good. But still, I was trying to be strong for my baby. For the remaining months of my pregnancy, I did remain strong. But the moment I saw him, I couldn't. Why don't twist the events? It's you who wanted the divorce. Also the one who didn't want to have any contact. Both looked into each other's eyes while breathing heavily. Their face was pale due to the conversation they were having. Almost 5 years ago. File. He was trying hard to concentrate on his file but was failing miserably again and again. His mind was occupied by the argument he had with his wife almost 2 weeks ago. It's been 2 weeks since his wife was staying with her parents after their argument. It's been 2 weeks since he talked to his wife. It's been 2 weeks since he was waiting for his wife to call him. He himself didn't call first because he was angry with her. Why wouldn't he? After all, she went to her parents' house after their argument instead of staying on the guest room in their house. Then glanced at his phone and thought, should I call her? It's been too long now. But she's being too much dramatic. She didn't even call me once. Why should every time I have to call? She was the one who had fault. His thoughts were interrupted as he heard the door knock. He straightened his posture and mumbled, come in. The door opened and entered a man wearing a black coat. Taehyung looked at the door and met with the familiar face of his wife, Wyan's lawyer, Ezra White. Taehyung frowned, seeing the man at his office. Ezra, you here? Yes, Mr. Kim, I am here today to give you divorce papers. Miss Wyan don't want to stay married with you. She wants a divorce from you. What? What are you saying, Ezra? Is this some kind of Prank? Mr. Kim, why would I be doing some insignificant prank? I am way too busy with cases to do such things. Ezra said and handed Taehyung over a file which clearly stated divorce papers. With shock on his face, Taehyung examined the papers and found Vine's signature on it. What the hell is this? How come she suddenly asked for a divorce? It was not sudden. Ma'am was planning for this for a while now. Took out his phone and called Vian. Pick up the call, Vian. But she didn't pick it up. He tried again, but she didn't. Ezra was about to say something, but starting him from his cabin while holding those papers. He straight went to the parking lot and hopped onto his car. That time only going to Vine's parents' house was seemed to be right thing to do. So he went there. Got out from the car and immediately went towards the main door while shouting, Vian! Vian! What is this, Vian? Why? He stopped seeing main door locked. Only a watchman was standing there. Why the door is locked? He desperately asked the watchman. No one is home, sir. That's why. What? How come no one is home? He again took out his phone from his pocket and called Vian. He called her again and again for several times, but she didn't pick it up. He called her father-in-law, mother-in-law, but they didn't pick it up the call too. He then stood there several hours in hope for his in-laws or his wife coming there, despite the watchman telling him that they had went for holidays. But alas, he stood there fruitless, as neither his in-laws nor his wife picked up the call, nor did anyone come in there. At the end, he had to go his own house. Two days later. In his car and tied his seatbelt. His hairs were a mess. There was dark circles under his eyes as he didn't sleep from the last 2 days. Why wouldn't he? After all, his wife suddenly asked him for a divorce. During past 2 days, he had tried to contact his wife multiple times, but she still wasn't picking up his calls. His in-laws were too. He could have called her cousin or friend, but he didn't. Because he didn't want to disclose this matter to multiple people. What if it was just a small misunderstanding? What if his wife was really pranking him? He really hoped it was a prank. That woman inserted the car key and was about to start the engine. That's when his phone rang. He saw the caller ID and felt a little relief. After all, the call was from his wife. He immediately picked it up. Wagon, what is this? Why did you send Ezra with divorce papers? And why weren't you picking up my calls? Where are you now? I went to your parents' house, but none of you were there. I'm not liking this prank of your Wagon. He bombarded her with numerous questions. I really want a divorce. What? But why, Wagon? Did my words hurt you? We can talk this out, Wagon, before taking this big decision. I am expecting. Words got stuck in his throat hearing her. Oh God, I am going to be a father. We are going to be a parents. Then why do you want this child? Of course, Vian. Of course I do. What kind of question? But I don't want it. frozen hearing her. I don't want to continue this pregnancy. But if you give me divorce, then I will continue this. There was a brief moment of silence between them. Then after the delivery, then what would happen? He asked her with his low tone. Then you can take it, or I can give it to orphanage. That's our child you are talking about, Vayan, not some toy. I don't want to do anything with you or your child, Taehyung, so give me divorce and free me from you. His breath hitched, hearing her harsh tone. Okay, as you wish, but after our child's full custody, it'd be mine. Don't show your face before delivery. Saying this, she cut the call, whereas he continued to look ahead of him blankly while still holding the phone near his ear. Present time. You are the one who asked for the divorce, Vayan. You are the one who didn't want it, Taehyung. You are the one who running to your lover. You are the one who... You are purely talking nonsense now. How could I not want my child, my son, Taehyung, when you are the one who... Almost 5 years ago. Standing near the window, Vayan was blankly looking at the tree in front of her room window. Her cheeks were stained with dry tears. Her eyes were red due to crying. With her one hand, she was caressing her belly, and with the other, she was holding some photos. The photos were of a couple hugging each other. They both looked so happy together. They looked so peaceful, so content to be with each other. The woman in the photos laughed as the man lifted her in the bridal style. Her hands were snaked around his neck, whereas his one hand was under her back and another one was behind her knees. In another photo, the woman caressed the man's cheeks, whereas he deeply her. His hands were snaked around her waist, pulling her closer than she already was. Anyone would be happy seeing the couple like this. Some may would blush seeing them like that. They would pray for their happiness to last longer. But Vayan, she felt nothing but sorrow seeing them. Not just sorrow, she felt rage, anger. She felt every blood vessel in her body was carrying rage instead of oxygen. Why wouldn't she? After all, the man in the photos were her husband. But the women in the photos were not her. The women were some other women. Her husband was hugging, holding, lifting even another woman. He even sent her those photos. He sent his wife pictures of him getting close to another woman. How long it had been that she came to her parents' place after their argument? 2 days, 5 days, 8 days? It's barely been 1 week since she had came to her parents' house after their heated argument. Surely she didn't call him during these days because she was angry. But she never imagined he would do something like this. She never imagined he would replace her with some other woman within such a short period of time. Which couple doesn't argue? Like every other couple, they had 2 episodes of arguments. Surely their last argument was very heated. Plus, she shouldn't have come to her parents' house that night. She should have waited for the morning to come. But how could he did that? Where she thought she would surprise him after he would call her and tell her to come back, but alas, he gave her the biggest shock in her life. Did you really replace me within less than a week? Or was you with her all the time? You were promising me things. If yes, then from when? From the time we are dating, or from the time we got married, or from the time you needed to go for business trips. She visited the photos as tears of rage left her eyes. Present time. Gazing into each other's eyes. You are the one who said you want to do nothing with me or my child. You are the one who was sleeping with Dada. Vine's words were cut off with the voice of Taehyung. His eyes widened, seeing Taehyung standing near the stairs. He was rubbing his right eye with his one hand, and with other he was holding his teddy bear. In one word, he was looking adorable. Dada. Towards him, every other thoughts or questions left his mind, seeing his child standing there when he should be sleeping. What happened, baby? Vine, who just came to know that Taehyung was her child, her own flesh, she too couldn't resist herself and went near him. Did you get frightened, Taehyung? I wanted water. Then I saw you were not beside me, so I came, Dada. Heaved out a sigh hearing his answer. Thank God he didn't hear any shouting. Come, baby, we will go to kitchen. Before he could finish his sentence, he saw Viken taking the glass of water in front of Taehyung's mouth, which Taehyung previously brought for her. Here, you can drink from this, right? You are a big boy. Taehyung looked at the woman he had met today morning. Then nodded his head, giving him permission. After all, she was just giving his child water which was previously brought by him. Nothing could go wrong, right? Taehyung drank some water and Viken wiped his mouth lovingly. Taehyung saw this, an unknown fear crossed his heart. Taehyung doesn't like being touched by anyone other than me after he wakes up from his nap or sleep. Even with mom, he cries after he wakes up. But with Viken, he isn't crying. Done. She smiled at the little boy who also smiled at her. She knelt in front of Taehyung and cupped his face lovingly. Such a good boy. About to tell her to not touch Taehyung, but the way she was looking at her, the motherly eyes, the genuine adoration on her face, seeing all this, he stopped himself. Is there a big misunderstanding between us? Do I missing some points, or all of this is some sort of Vine's trick, a trick to snatch my son from me?